I was born in southwest Alabama, which is approximately at a little community called Arlington. Had a couple of stores and a post office. Arlington's about 100 miles north of Mobile and approximately 50 miles south of Selma on a straight line. Livingston State Teachers College was when I went there in 55, graduated from high school in 55. Went there in the fall, and it eventually changed to Livingston University, and now it is now the University of West Alabama. I went there primarily because Gail, my wife, wanted to go there, and I wanted to go there, and I tried out for football and made the team and earned a scholarship. And I was a quarterback. Back in those days, we had to play both ways. So I was a quarterback and defensive end for the most part, mostly just offensive quarterback. I knew I wanted to be a coach, therefore I needed to teach. And I've always liked math in school, and I thought, well, if I can do something from a college standpoint, major in math, a minor in math, teaching, it might help me get a job, and it helped me get my very first job at North Cobb High School. I taught math, taught 5 classes of math in 59, and the interesting part of that is today's times, I can recall I was paid $3,400 a year to teach, and I got $200 coaching supplement for the purpose of helping coach the B team football with Coach Matthews and Coach Sewell. And then I helped with the B team boys and girls basketball with Coach Roger Russell. That was okay. That was one of the reasons I came over here. Georgia paid a little more than Alabama, so.
Is that right?
That's right. I was there 3 years. 3 years and as assistant, and then I moved from there to Osborne High School to continue coaching football and head baseball coach. I was there 5 years as a coach. And then I left from Osborne and went to Lafayette, Alabama. So I went over there. It turned out I was the only coach. It was a small school, Lafayette High School. I was the only coach because the assistant quit 2 weeks before fall football started, and we couldn't hire anybody, so I coached it all there. And I was there 2 years. And then Autry Junior High School at that time between here and Kennesaw had opened. Mr. Kermit Keenum was the principal to start with, and after him, a good friend of mine, Mr. Bill Hamilton, became principal. Well, Bill and I had been friends because he was also from Alabama, and he came over the same year I did in 59. And he called me from Lafayette and wanted me to come coach his junior high football team and teach math there, so I jumped at the opportunity to come back to Cobb County. About the end of the football season, he came to me and says, East Cobb Middle School has East Cobb Junior High, has a assistant principal vacancy. And Dr. Cruz, who was the superintendent at that time, wants to talk to you about it. Now, the reason Dr. Cruz wanted to talk to him about it, because Bill had called him and told him that I was ready to go in administration, wanted to, and he recommended me, and so that's how he got me into administration. Without going into a whole lot of detail, at the end of that year, the East Cobb principal, whose name was Mr. Benny Davis, took the job as athletic director of Cobb County Schools, which was the first athletic director. So that left a principal vacancy. Well, I'd only been in it about 6 months as administrator, and some of the older teachers on the staff went to Dr. Cruz and said, Henry Nettles needs to be our principal. Well, he's only been, it doesn't matter. He needs to be our principal. So they all took credit for me being named principal at East Cobb. And I've thanked them sometimes, and I've fussed at them sometimes. So I was there 1 year as assistant principal and 11 years as principal at East Cobb. And then from there, I went to Pine Mountain Middle School. At that time, we had converted them to all of us were middle schools, and went to Pine Mountain. I stayed there 12 years as principal at Pine Mountain. I think I went there in about 83 or 84, I think, and I retired in 95. Enjoyed every day of it. Obviously, being an athlete at the college and high school level and coached, I think it builds discipline, it builds a lot of camaraderie, those kinds of things. You had to love kids. I love the middle school kids. That doesn't mean I didn't like elementary or high school kids, but I love middle schools. They were a different breed of kids. We used to say the sixth graders were scared. They were running because they didn't know where they were going. Seventh graders were trying to be cool but couldn't. And the eighth graders were cool and just sashayed up and down the hall, no rush. I'm in charge, you know, whatever. But the students, they've really changed. But they're a lot sharper today, too. The subject matter they're teaching, it is far beyond what we taught. You know, the math that I taught, when a ninth grader taking Algebra 1, well, I was seventh grade, granddaughters took that in the seventh grade, and that kind of thing. And they were taking in middle schools and in freshmen and sophomores, the math classes we were taking as in college, really. Ackworth's a growing city, the best place to live in Cobb County without question in my mind. I think the government has done a fantastic job of all the things they do to keep it going and growing, but it was just a little small community. Glad to raise your kids here.